Welcome to another deep dive, everyone. Today we'll be exploring the vast and often intimidating world of classical music.
That's right. We'll be diving deep into its history, the composers, the instruments, and even how it all connects to other art forms like movies and paintings.
But before we get lost in the symphony of it all, I think it's best we start at the beginning.
Absolutely.
So, how did this whole classical music thing even begin? I mean, where do we even start?
Well, picture yourself back in ancient Greece and Rome.
To gas and amphitheaters.
Yeah, that's where the seeds were planted. Think theatrical performances with music and dance, early forms of musical notation, and a focus on storytelling through sound. These elements are still very much alive in classical music today.
So, are we saying that those early forms are directly connected to what we hear in concert halls today?
It's more like they laid the foundation.
Yeah.
Those early forms influenced the development of Western music over centuries.
I see. So from those early beginnings, we move into the medieval period, right? I've always found Gregorian chants echoing through cathedrals to be so mesmerizing.
Yeah, and that's because during the medieval period, music was deeply intertwined with religion.
Yeah.
Gregorian chant, with its single melodic line and focus on sacred texts, really dominated the musical landscape.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the Renaissance that things started to change.
That's when we see the rise of secular music outside of the church and the development of polyphony, right?
Exactly. Polyphony is where you have multiple melodies interwoven together, creating a much richer and more complex texture. Think of it like weaving a tapestry of sound.
That's a great analogy. So instead of just one line of melody, it's like multiple voices singing together.
Right. And this innovation really opened up a whole new world of possibilities for composers.
It's amazing to think about how those early composers were experimenting and pushing the boundaries of music.
It really is. They were constantly innovating, exploring new sounds and textures.
And I'm curious about who was funding all of this. I mean, someone had to be paying for these creative endeavors, right?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Patronage played a significant role in shaping musical trends during the Renaissance and beyond.
So who were these patrons?
Well, it was the wealthy and powerful, whether it was the church or the nobility. They commissioned works from composers, influencing what kind of music was being created.
Kind of like how today's music industry is shaped by record labels and producers.
Yeah, in a way. But then we move into the Baroque period,
Okay.
and this is where a true giant steps onto the stage.
Yeah.
Johann Sebastian Bach.
Ah, Bach, the father of Western music. I've always been in awe of his complex fugues and counterpoint, even if I don't fully understand how it all works.
Well, counterpoint is essentially the art of weaving multiple independent melodic lines together in a harmonious way. It's like a musical conversation where each voice has something unique to say, but they all work together beautifully.
So it's like a perfectly choreographed dance of melodies.
That's a great way to put it. And Bach was a master of this technique, and his influence on everything that came after him is immeasurable.
And then after Bach, things take a turn towards elegance and balance with the classical period.
Precisely. This period is defined by composers like Mozart and Haydn. You might have heard of them.
Of course, Mozart, the child prodigy, who wrote operas full of drama and wit, and Haydn, who was so influential, he was known as Papa Haydn.
Exactly. They both brought a sense of clarity and structure to music that was quite different from the complexity of the Baroque period. It was almost like a musical conversation between these two geniuses.
And then comes Beethoven, the rebel, who broke all the rules. He's the bridge to the Romantic period.
Absolutely. Beethoven was a true revolutionary. He took the elegance of the classical period and infused it with raw emotion and dramatic intensity.
So he kind of shook things up a bit.
He did. And this paved the way for the Romantic period, a time of grand orchestras and music that could express a wide range of human emotions.
But what's really interesting about Beethoven is his struggle with deafness.
Yeah.
You'd think losing his hearing would silence his music, but instead it seems like it fueled his creativity.
That's a great observation. Many believe that Beethoven's deafness forced him to listen to music in a completely different way, leading him to create some of the most powerful and emotionally charged music ever written. Think of his late string quartets.
I've heard those.
They're full of such raw emotion and intensity. It's almost as if he's wrestling with his own fate through music.
So from ancient Greece to Beethoven, we've covered a lot of musical ground. It's amazing to think about how these different periods and composers built upon each other, each adding their unique voice to the story of classical music.
It really shows how music is a constantly evolving art form, building on the past while always looking towards the future.
But what about the instruments themselves? How did they evolve alongside all of these changes in style?
That's a great question. Just as musical styles evolved, so did the instruments used to create them. Think of the piano, for instance.
Oh.
It started as a rather basic instrument, but transformed into the versatile powerhouse we know today, capable of producing a wide range of dynamics and expressions.
And then there's the violin with its ability to express both soaring joy and deep sorrow. It's become such an iconic instrument in classical music.
Yeah, the violin's evolution is really fascinating. Early violins were a bit rough around the edges, but over time, craftsmen refined their designs, leading to the instruments we know and love today. Those refinements allowed composers to write increasingly demanding and expressive music for the violin.
And it's not just the violin and piano, there's a whole orchestra of instruments, right?
Mhm.
From the booming brass to the delicate woodwinds, they all come together to create this incredible symphony of sound.
It's like a giant puzzle where each piece has a unique role to play. The conductor, the maestro, guides this complex ensemble, shaping the music with every gesture.
Speaking of shaping the music, I've always wondered about the different forms and structures in classical music. It's not just random notes strung together, right?
Not at all. There's a whole language of music with its own grammar and vocabulary. One of the most common forms you'll encounter is the symphony. It's a grand, multi-movement work that can tell epic stories without words.
So it's like a novel, but told through music.
Exactly. And then there's the concerto, which showcases the virtuosity of a soloist alongside the orchestra. It's a bit like a conversation between two musical forces, each pushing the other to greater heights.
I've always loved how a concerto can highlight the individual brilliance of the soloist while still being part of a larger ensemble.
It's a delicate balance, and when it's done well, it's truly magical. And then there are more intimate forms like chamber music, where small groups of instruments like a string quartet create this incredibly intimate and conversational music.
It's like eavesdropping on a private conversation between close friends.
That's a great way to describe it. And then there's opera, which combines drama music and stagecraft into a spectacle that can be truly breathtaking.
Opera always seems so grand and over the top.
It can be. But that's part of its charm. Opera takes you on a journey of emotions from the highest highs to the lowest lows.
And what about ballet music? I know composers like Tchaikovsky wrote some incredible ballet scores.
Ballet music is a fascinating genre. It's not just about providing accompaniment for dancers, it's about telling stories through music, evoking landscapes, emotions, and characters.
So you're saying that even if you've never seen the ballet, you can still get swept away by the music.
Absolutely. Think of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. Even without seeing the dancers, you can hear the story of the Swan Princess unfolding through the music.
That's incredible. So we've got these composers pushing the boundaries of music. We've got these amazing instruments evolving over time, and we've got all these different forms and structures that give shape and meaning to the music. But how has classical music influenced the world outside of the concert hall?
That's where things get really interesting. Classical music's impact on culture and society is immense, even if we don't always realize it. For centuries, it was the soundtrack of the Western world, influencing everything from art and literature to politics and philosophy.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me some examples.
Well, just think about the role of music in the courts of Europe. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a symbol of power and prestige. Composers were often employed by kings and queens, and their music helped to solidify the ruling class's authority.
So it was like a sonic symbol of their status and power.
Precisely. And as we move into the Romantic period, classical music begins to reflect the changing social and political landscape. Think of the rise of nationalism and the quest for individual expression. Those ideas found their way into the music of composers like Verdi and Wagner, whose operas often dealt with themes of national identity and personal freedom.
So classical music wasn't just a reflection of society, it was actively shaping it.
Exactly. And as we think about society, it's important to acknowledge that the contributions of women composers have often been overlooked throughout history.
Yes, we've talked about a lot of male composers, but were there any women who made their mark on classical music?
Absolutely. Women like Clara Schumann were creating incredible music despite facing significant barriers in a male-dominated field. She was a brilliant pianist and composer in her own right, and her works are finally getting the recognition they deserve.
It's a reminder that the story of classical music is still being written, and there are always new voices and perspectives to be discovered. But getting back to the present day, how does classical music influence us today? It's not exactly dominating the pop charts.
That's true, but its influence is more subtle and pervasive than you might think. Take film scores, for example. Many of the most iconic movie themes draw inspiration from classical music, whether it's the sweeping strings of a romantic epic or the dramatic brass of an action sequence.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like those epic John Williams scores in movies like Star Wars. You can definitely hear the echoes of classical music there.
Speaking of epic, I think it's time we dive into some specific pieces and unpack what makes them so enduring. I agree. Let's start with Beethoven's Symphony No. 9. This masterpiece needs no introduction. The final movement, with its powerful Ode to Joy chorus, has become a universal anthem of hope and unity.
It's amazing how a piece of music can transcend time and cultural boundaries to become such a powerful symbol. What else is on our list of must-hear masterpieces?
But we can't talk about iconic works without mentioning Mozart's Requiem. This piece, which he left unfinished at his death, is shrouded in mystery and legend. It's a deeply moving work that explores themes of mortality and the afterlife.
It's almost haunting to think that he was composing a piece about death while facing his own mortality. And speaking of musical genius, Bach's Brandenburg concertos are another shining example of his mastery.
Absolutely. These 6 concertos are like a kaleidoscope of Baroque brilliance. They're full of intricate counterpoint soaring melodies and a sense of joyful energy that's simply contagious.
They're definitely on my playlist for a good mood boost. And for something completely different, how about Vivaldi's The Four Seasons? This one takes you on a journey through nature, from the birdsong of spring to the icy winds of winter.
Vivaldi was a master of creating evocative musical imagery. It's called program music, where the composer uses music to depict a specific story or scene. You can almost hear the birds chirping and the leaves rustling in the Four Seasons.
And what about a piece that evokes a sense of history and drama?
Then you have to hear Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture. It's a musical depiction of the Napoleonic Wars, complete with booming cannons and triumphant melodies. It's a real showstopper.
It sounds epic. And for something completely different, how about a piece that caused a riot at its premiere?
Then we have to talk about Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring. This ballet, with its jarring rhythms and dissonant harmonies, shocked audiences when it debuted in 1913. It was so groundbreaking and unconventional that people literally rioted in the streets.
Wow, a riot. That's how you know a piece of music is truly pushing boundaries and challenging conventions. It's fascinating to see how these iconic works, each in their own way, have become landmarks in the history of classical music. But I'm curious about how classical music connects with other art forms. Is it a world unto itself, or are there bridges to other creative realms?
Classical music is deeply intertwined with other art forms, from literature and visual art to dance and even architecture.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, think about the countless composers who have been inspired by literature. Shakespeare's plays, for example, have been set to music by everyone from Verdi to Bernstein. And on the flip side, many writers have found inspiration in classical music, using it to evoke certain moods or themes in their works.
So it's like a two-way street with each art form enriching the other. What about visual art? How does that connect with classical music?
Composers and visual artists often share similar aesthetics. Just as painters use color and light to create certain effects, composers use melody, harmony, and rhythm to evoke specific emotions and imagery. Some composers have even attempted to paint with sound, creating musical landscapes that mirror the visual arts.
I'm picturing Debussy's La Mer with its shimmering textures and wave-like melodies. It's like listening to an impressionist painting. And what about dance? That connection seems pretty obvious.
Absolutely. Classical music and dance have been inseparable partners for centuries. From the elegant waltzes of Strauss to the dramatic ballets of Tchaikovsky, music provides the emotional and rhythmic foundation for movement.
And let's not forget the role of architecture. The design of a concert hall can have a huge impact on how the music sounds right.
Precisely. Acoustics play a crucial role in creating a space where music can truly come alive. Architects who specialize in concert hall design consider everything from the shape of the room to the materials used in construction to ensure optimal sound quality.
So even the building itself becomes part of the musical experience. It's incredible how all these art forms come together, each contributing to the overall tapestry. And it's not just the traditional arts. I've heard that classical music is even finding its way into video games.
That's right. Modern video game composers often draw inspiration from classical music, using orchestral scores to create immersive and emotionally resonant gaming experiences. It's a testament to the enduring power of this music to connect with audiences across generations and mediums.
It's like classical music is constantly evolving, finding new ways to express itself and connect with the world. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I think we need to take a step back and appreciate the incredible diversity within classical music itself. I mean, we've been focusing on Western classical music, but there's a whole world of sound out there.
You're absolutely right. Classical music is not a monolithic entity. It's a rich tapestry of styles and traditions from all corners of the globe.
So let's take a quick world tour. What are some of the key regional perspectives we should know about?
Well, we could start with Russian classical music, which is known for its dramatic intensity and sweeping melodies. Composers like Tchaikovsky, Stravinsky, and Prokofiev created works that are deeply rooted in Russian history and culture.
I love how Russian classical music can be both hauntingly beautiful and incredibly powerful. What about other European traditions?
While German Romanticism, with composers like Schumann, Brahms, and Wagner, emphasized emotional expression and often drew inspiration from nature and folklore. French Impressionism, led by Debussy and Ravel, focused on creating a sense of atmosphere and sensory experience through subtle harmonies and shimmering textures.
I can almost hear the delicate brushstrokes of a Monet painting in Debussy's music. And what about Italian opera? It's legendary.
Of course, Italian opera is known for its passionate melodies, dramatic plots, and virtuosic singing. Composers like Verdi and Puccini created works that are still performed and beloved around the world.
And we can't forget about the Scandinavian composers like Sibelius and Grieg, who brought a unique Nordic flavor to classical music.
Their music often evokes the vast landscapes and mystical folklore of their homelands. And then there's British classical music with composers like Elgar and Britten, who contributed their own distinctive voices to the canon.
And what about American classical music? It has its own rich history and unique sound.
Absolutely. Composers like Copland, Gershwin, and Bernstein drew inspiration from American folk traditions, jazz, and the energy of modern life to create a truly American sound.
It's amazing to see how each region has contributed its own unique thread to the global tapestry of classical music. But beyond the geographical and stylistic differences, are there any common themes or symbols that run through this vast body of work?
That's a fascinating question, and the answer is yes. Despite the diversity of styles and eras, certain themes and symbols appear again and again in classical music, reflecting universal human experiences and concerns.
So what are some of these recurring themes that we should be on the lookout for?
Well, one of the most prevalent themes is nature. From the gentle birdsong in Vivaldi's The Four Seasons to the stormy depictions in Beethoven's symphonies, composers have long turned to the natural world for inspiration. You can almost feel the wind in your hair or the sun on your face just by listening.
It's like music can capture the raw power and beauty of nature and translate it into something we can feel in our souls. What other themes resonate through the centuries?
Religious themes are another big one, particularly in the works of Bach and Handel. These composers often used music to express their faith and explore spiritual ideas. Bach's Mass in B minor is a profound example of this.
It's amazing how music can be a window into someone's soul, even centuries later. And of course, we can't forget about love and tragedy. Opera wouldn't be the same without them.
Exactly. Opera often dives headfirst into the complexities of human relationships, exploring the ecstasy of love and the agony of loss. Think of the heartbreaking final aria in Puccini's La Bohème. It's enough to make anyone weep.
Those operatic emotions can be so intense. It's no wonder people get so swept up in the drama. But are there any lighter themes explored in classical music? What about humor?
Believe it or not, humor has a place in classical music too. Composers like Haydn were known for their musical jokes and playful surprises. Even in more serious works, you can often find moments of wit and lightheartedness that bring a smile to your face.
So it's not all doom and gloom and tragic love affairs.
Not at all. Classical music reflects the full spectrum of human emotions, from the profound to the playful. It's all about finding those connections and letting the music speak to you.
This has been an incredible journey. We've gone from ancient Greece to modern-day movie scores and everything in between. But for someone who's just starting to explore classical music, it can feel a bit overwhelming. Any advice on where to begin?
The best advice I can give is to simply dive in and see what grabs your attention. Don't feel like you need to understand everything right away. Just let the music wash over you and see what emotions or images it evokes.
So no need to stress about memorizing musical terms or historical dates.
Not at all. The beauty of classical music is that it can be enjoyed on so many different levels. You can simply let the sound wash over you, or you can dig deeper and explore the intricacies of the composition. It's all about finding what works for you.
That's good to know. But what about some practical tips for getting started? Any advice for someone attending their first classical concert or opera?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First of all, don't be intimidated. Classical music concerts aren't as stuffy as they used to be. You can dress comfortably, and don't worry about knowing everything about the music beforehand. Just relax and let the experience unfold.
So no pop quizzes on sonata form during intermission.
No pop quizzes, I promise. And if you're going to an opera, it can be helpful to read a synopsis of the plot beforehand so you can follow along. Many opera houses even provide subtitles so you don't miss out on the story.
That's a great tip. It's like having subtitles for your ears. But what about those of us who prefer to listen at home? Any suggestions for building a killer classical music playlist?
I'd say start by exploring different composers and periods. There's so many streaming services and online resources available, so you can easily create a playlist tailored to your own tastes.
So if I'm in the mood for something dramatic and intense, I might go for some Beethoven. But if I want something more calming and introspective, I might choose Debussy.
Exactly. It's all about finding what resonates with you. And don't be afraid to branch out and try something new. You might be surprised at what you discover.
It's like a musical adventure. But beyond just listening, are there other ways to engage with classical music on a deeper level?
Absolutely. Learning to read a musical score can open up a whole new world of understanding. It's like learning a new language that allows you to see the music from the composer's perspective. There are plenty of resources available online and in libraries to help you get started.
That sounds challenging but rewarding. So we've talked about the history, the composers, the forms, and even how to engage with classical music. But what about its future? Is it a dying art form, or is it finding new ways to stay relevant in the 21st century?
Classical music is far from dying. It's a living tradition that's constantly evolving, finding new audiences, and inspiring new generations of musicians. From contemporary composers who are pushing the boundaries of the genre to innovative performances that blend classical music with other styles, there's a vibrancy and creativity that's truly exciting.
So it's not just about preserving the past, but also about shaping the future.
Exactly. Classical music is a testament to the power of human creativity and the enduring search for beauty and meaning.
Well said. I think we've covered an incredible amount of ground in this deep dive. We've explored the vast world of classical music from its ancient roots to its modern-day incarnations.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's always more to discover and explore in this rich and rewarding art form.
So to our listener, we encourage you to continue exploring the world of classical music. Whether you attend a concert, build a playlist, or even try your hand at reading a musical score, there's a world of beauty and inspiration waiting to be discovered.
And remember, it's all about finding what resonates with you. Let the music be your guide and enjoy the journey.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of classical music. Until next time, keep those ears open and stay curious.